Talk of the Trollway Rewind, a special segment looking back at the stories of 2014.
From quilters to authors to artists, we've just skimmed the surface of the talents of the people who live in and around the village of Mount Horeb. We here at Trollway TV thought you'd enjoy them one more time. I'm your host, Gary Schutz. If you don't have a friend or family member attending classes at Forte Studios in Mount Horeb, you're in the minority. Since opening their doors 7 years ago, Wes and Marin Johnson have taught voice, drama, and dance to hundreds of students from the village and beyond.
Some kids are born with that. They know exactly what to do when they get on stage and they just got that charisma. Others, that's a thing you can teach. Good, we covered over 2 octaves. From here, covered quite a range there, girl. Nice job.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I do love my students. I love working with them, and I'm excited to see where they're going to go. And I've got a handful of kids that are potentially on the professional track, and I'm looking forward to helping them with that and seeing where they go. And hopefully, I'll be excited if they do, if they do end up on Broadway and they do some of the things that I had wanted to do.
In 1947, the year he contracted polio, rural historian and author Jerry Apps was 12 years old and living on his parents' farm in Wishara County, Wisconsin.
Community of Wild Rose, there was a lot of fear, as there was everywhere, of polio. Everything was canceled, kids couldn't get together, so it was a terrible time. Doctor told me that I would spend my life in a wheelchair when I went home from the hospital after the diagnosis. I've said that in the book, diagnosis with polio. And my dad said, we're not going to have a farm kid sitting in a wheelchair. And the story in the book about my 4-H calf and the tractor and all that stuff got me moving again. And then my coach, the guy that got me typing, was another one that really helped the psychological part of it all. And along the way, there were people always pushing, nodding, encouraging.
A self-taught photographer who's been around art her entire life, Vicki France travels throughout the Driftless area looking for her next subject.
There's a photograph that I took of a double rainbow. I was sleeping on the couch and all of a sudden this color started changing the room, and I just jumped up and out the door. I gotta go right now. And so, yeah, drama outside wakens me up. Photography is all about drama. One of my personal favorites is the scene on the Kickapoo River. I got out in the water, it was moving relatively quickly, and just as I'm shooting, 3 young boys, all with their shirts off, canoed past me right into the scene. And I was like, oh, my heart just went, oh. And so I just shot as quickly as I could because I knew that they weren't going to come back.
On a cold winter day, with temperatures dipping into the single digits or lower, just about anyone would be happy to have one of the creations of Lori Wargowski, Joe McDonald, Shirley Keller, and Mary Spey.
One of the biggest misconceptions is that people think it's hard, and it isn't. It's sewing a straight line, basically, most of the time, and somebody just has to tell you how to use the new tools that we use. And you sew the line, you cut it apart, you sew the line again. It's very simple. It's time consuming, but it's not hard.
This is going to be a quilt for my 3-year-old granddaughter who has a theme of ladybugs for her bedroom.
Quilting is an art, truly. There's a lot of time that goes into making these. Some of them are just absolutely beautiful.
Yes, and there are
the handwork on them.
There are many today that are artists first and quilters second. Right. So they're taking their art background and turning their art into quilts.
Arnie Sweckel has been drawing monsters his entire life, inspired by vivid dreams and more than a few sights and sounds in his childhood home. After taking his talents around the world for such notable games as Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and Call of Cthulhu, he is now the principal artist at Raven Software in Middleton, Wisconsin, where he helps to create the billion-dollar worlds of today's immersive video game experiences.
When I was a kid, I would draw monsters all the time, and everybody said, you know, you're a really good artist, but you never believe that when it's you,
Sure.
right? But then I read The Hobbit. And when I read The Hobbit, I thought, oh, there's somebody out there who thinks like me. So here I've been drawing monsters all my life, and I thought, man, maybe I'll be a writer one day, or maybe I could be an artist. I never thought anything of it, just drew on all the time and had fun. I was a laborer, wallpaper and painter. And my wife says to me, listen, you gotta send your work out there. But growing up in that environment, you almost have this fear of success, like, oh, I'll never be good enough. I sent my work in when I was 29 to a place called Chaosium. And they liked my stuff so much. 2 weeks after I sent my just sketches saying, you know, maybe I can find some work through here, they flooded me with work. And I thought, oh, holy crap, maybe I could do this. And all this time I'd been doubting myself.
When Paul Rux looks to the future, he isn't peering into a crystal ball or speeding across a parking lot at 88 miles an hour like in the movies. He is tapping into his network of professional contacts, reading the newspaper, and simply paying attention to the trends taking place in the world around him.
We are sitting right on the economy of the future, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else at this point in my life. I had a chance to visit with Steve Grundle at Midwest Printing, the new 3D printing company to our west, right in Blue Mountains. I said to Steve, this is going to be epic part 2 out here. It's going to transform Blue Mountains, and I have 2 grandchildren in Blue Mountains, and I'm telling them, don't be too quick to move out of Blue Mountains. This is going to be the next, you know, boom town. There's one young man behind our house, and the house behind us, he's a project manager for Epic. Right next to him is a software engineer for Epic. These people are here, they're bringing money, they're buying real estate, their kids are growing up here. Why? Because we're safe. Why? Because we're Norman Rockwell's America.
From Flint, Michigan to Platteville, Wisconsin, Greg Dennis has led nearly a dozen choirs from the practice room to the main stage. He's been with the Mount Horeb Chorale since their first concert for the village's Quasquicentennial, and the local singers recently presented their 28th annual show in April 2014. Greg was front and center, keeping time and marking cues.
We do get people who have never sung in their lives, but I always want choirs to be in a situation where people at least can give it a try. They'll know in a hurry if they don't like it, or if they can't, or if they feel embarrassed, what have you. We also tell them never be afraid to make a mistake, because if you're afraid to make a mistake, you're going to make a mistake, period. It's one of the nice things about singing in a choir. If you like to sing, but you're not confident in your voice, singing in a choir can be one of the safest places to make music.
If you're not sure where to find Alex Bledsoe's work at the local bookstore, you're not alone. The Mount Horeb author got his big break by combining 2 genres, the hard-boiled detective story epitomized by Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett, and the sword and sorcery tale by way of Lord of the Rings. The combination can be hard to pigeonhole.
I started writing it when I was 18, and it was finally published when I was 44. So it took a while. It took a while to find out how I wanted to tell the story. It took a while to find, for the publishing industry to reach a point where they would accept a story that wasn't entirely one thing. You know, it wasn't just a fantasy. It was also a mystery story. It was also a detective story. I wrote on it many different drafts over the years, and it never worked. It never came to life until finally I realized what I was doing wrong in the method of telling the story. I needed to change that. So I changed it to a first-person narrator. I changed his profession a little bit. I put in more humor, and it just came to life. It just created its own world around the story that way. It was really easy to write then. And it's so easy that I've written 4 sequels to it. Dave Kunkel's 4-rotor remote-control drone sounds like a swarm of bees up close, and the high-flying machine gets almost as much attention, if it is seen at all. Dave provides a new perspective on the familiar landscapes around Mount Horeb as he introduces us to the joys of taking to the sky.
When you look down at Stewart Park from 250 feet, you realize what a cool place. You get out in those rolling hills out by Tyrrell Basin. And just how neat it is there, and what a picturesque place we live in. I'll be like, oh, I wonder what Donald Park looks like at 5 in the morning.
With a serious work ethic and a whimsical eye, clay artist Michael Kelly is inspired by the everyday things in the world around him. In his 4th Street studio, he gives his imagination free rein as he creates his sculptures, teaches several classes, and experiments with new ideas.
This time of year when the farmers are cutting their fields and you see all those hay, all those beautiful lines that are like rolling and meandering through, you know, that's what I want to, I want to emulate that or talk about that in this landscape series. And I just kind of follow like up the hill and down the hill and around. I just kind of roll and just carve in, just let the carving, I don't know, man, just carve. I just want to, I want to be skilled at what I do. I want to be a good craftsman. I want to have people respond to my work. I want to have people want what I create to become, that's a really compliment. When someone wants something you make to become part of their environment, whether it's utilitarian, whether you're making a mug they can drink out of every day, or a beautiful piece on the wall, when they want that to become part of their environment, that's a real kick in the pants, you know?
Fisher King Winery may have just celebrated their 3-year anniversary, but head winemaker Alwyn Fitzgerald has been fermenting grapes for years leading up to the opening of the urban winery. Fitz, as he is known to his friends, now produces wine from grape to bottle entirely in-house under the Fisher King banner, including such favorites as Trolltown Red, White Whisper, and Blue Rapture.
I have a bias towards using Wisconsin-grown grapes. Not a mission, that sounds a little too strong, you know, but
an interest
in promoting Wisconsin grape growers and what we can do here with our own grapes right here in Wisconsin. Wine consumption is totally on the rise. I mean, nationwide, internationally, and in Wisconsin, and it has been for some time. In 2005, for the very first time ever, wine supplanted beer as the alcohol beverage of choice in the country. And I don't know if it still is in that spot, but the point is, it shows the popularity, the increasing popularity of wine.
There's a newer one. It's called Canted Wait.
Being a musician isn't Corey Hart's day job, but the local singer-songwriter has a handful of albums under his belt, and the drive to keep writing, recording, and performing music doesn't seem to be slowing for the father of 2.
I've definitely become a more mature person since having kids, in a way that seeps in to the music. Time would have it, you get older and and more mature, and you learn more of life's lessons, and all of that seeps in.
Each Talk of the Trollway story from 2014 is available by video on demand at trollway.tv or at Mount Horeb Cable TV on YouTube.